it's incredibly flammable and it creates a massive fire hazard. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Living in Knoxville. My name is Cole Lyles. I am an agent with Realty Executives here in Knoxville, and today we are talking about things every Knoxville homeowner should do to kick off the fall. And specifically, we're talking about home maintenance. Like, what are the things you're supposed to do to take care of your home? Before we jump into that, I want you to know I help people buy and sell houses every single day. That's my job. If you're interested in buying a home or you're interested in selling your home and making as much money as possible for it, you can click the link in the description below to set up a time. I would love to chat with you about it. Would love to talk more. You own a house. Congratulations, that's a huge step, but now you have to take care of it, right? It's not just the kind of thing you can sit it and forget it. It requires maintenance, it requires upkeep, it requires doing all sorts of things that I did not expect the amount of work required to be a homeowner. My wife and I bought our house in 2020, and it's wild, the things that come up and the things you have to think about and the things you have to learn about. Like, my dad was a contractor, so I grew up with some very basic knowledge of homes, but I mostly was just carrying heavy stuff from one part of the job site to the other. So like, I never learned how to be a plumber. I never learned how to be an electrician, which is fine, you know, because like, for the most part, you don't have to know how to do that stuff. But if you own a house, you're gonna wanna start to think about some of those systems and the things that are required to keep those systems up. So let's jump in. What are the 9 most important things you as a Knoxville homeowner can do to kick off the fall and keep your house safe? Number 1, change your air filters. You should be changing your air filters at least once a quarter, so every 3 months. So the beginning of a new season, it's a good time to go ahead and change your air filters. And for most of us in Knoxville, most of the housing stock has been updated. We have like central heat and air, so you should be changing the filters in your air returns. It's behind the grate. You pull the grate off, and then there's like a cardboard and like fibrous thing. So you pull that out, you put a new one in. You should be doing that every 3 months. If you've got pets, you've got people with like high allergies, or it's like, you know, mega pollen season and you've got a leaky house like I do, we need new windows, and so like air is just kind of flowing through here all the time. You may want to replace your stuff more frequently. Now, there's a number of like organizations and you know, companies that you can go to that will just automatically ship air filters to your house. There's a lot about air filters. I won't go into that here, but you can always check out like This Old House, Home Depot, Lowe's. They will all have blogs on like what kind of air filter is right for me. There's different levels of protection. The point is, change out your air filters at least every 3 months. And if you have an older system, or if you have you know, different kinds of needs, it may be wise to do it more often. Number 2, cover your exterior faucets. So any of the spigots that you have outside, you need to get one of those little styrofoam covers and you need to put it on it. Why do we do that? Why do we see that? When I used to live in a rental that had that, and I was always like, what is this? And it's always like discolored from years of use. We use that because in Knoxville, it gets so cold in the winter that the water in your pipes will freeze. Specifically, the water at the end of the spigot will freeze, and ice, water is one of those weird compounds that, like, even though it's a solid, it actually expands. And so ice will expand and cause your pipes to burst. And nobody wants to deal with a burst pipe when it's 12 degrees outside. So get one of those styrofoam covers. It's insulated and it keeps your faucets and your spigots from freezing. That's also why in the wintertime, when it gets exceptionally cold, people recommend turning on just a little drip so it keeps water moving through your system and makes it harder for that stuff to freeze. So get a cover. They're extremely cheap. I'll put a link to an Amazon one in the description. You're welcome to grab that if you want. But the point is, cover it up so that it doesn't freeze. Number 3, change the batteries in your smoke detectors. This is something you should be doing on a yearly basis. You can also, if you don't feel like changing it, or you've got like a 10-year battery, whatever, I don't know if those even exist, but test it. There's a button on your smoke detector. You should be able to push it. It will cause it to start beeping. You can push it again, it will stop. That's to make sure the smoke detector is working. I also always recommend having at least one carbon monoxide detector in your house, especially if you have gas heat, which a lot of places in Knoxville do. So we have, I think we have 2 in our house. We went ahead and got some whenever we got a baby because we wanted to make sure that everything was in the clear. We also had like a cracked heat exchange. This isn't, you know what? This isn't a channel about my house. This is about your house. So get a carbon monoxide detector and change the batteries on a yearly basis, because if you're already getting up there to test the thing, you might as well change the batteries in your smoke detector and your carbon monoxide detectors. Number 5, clean your gutters. If you have trees in your yard, especially clean your gutters. If Knoxville and East Tennessee has some of the most beautiful fall foliage in the country. You know, there are people who drive from all over the place to come see the leaves turn here in the Smoky Mountains in East Tennessee. It's beautiful. And like my neighborhood, we have a bunch of old trees. I always love neighborhoods that have a bunch of big old trees, because that means it's an established neighborhood, it's been around a long time, and the leaves are just really pretty and fun to look at. All those leaves fall down and they end up in your gutters, and your gutters need to be clear so that water can run through them. And if you don't clean your gutters regularly, what happens? Why is it so bad? Well, what happens is that water pushes up against the stuff inside of your gutters, and rather than going harmlessly through your downspout into wherever, the ground, it, may seep back into your roof. It may cause a leak there. It may cause a leak inside of your walls. It can cause, damage to your gutters in the long term, which are difficult to repair. You most often have to replace them because it's kind of like a flimsy aluminum material. So long story short, clean your gutters. It is not very expensive, and if you've got a ladder and you're feeling froggy, you can get up and do it yourself. You can also generally pay people. I know we've got plenty of handyman people in our, in my phone that my clients love to use. So clean your gutters at least once a year. It's probably not a bad idea to do it a little more, just give it a visual inspection, but definitely clean your gutters. In the fall, after a big storm, after you have most of the leaves that have been dropped, that's a good time to get out there and do it before it gets too cold. Up next, clean your dryer vent. This is something I'm gonna do this year for the first time. I definitely should have done this sooner. You are supposed to clean your dryer vent at least once per year. Why? Why is it so important that we do that? Because dryer lint, I don't know if you know this, I used to use dryer lint as a fire starter. It's incredibly flammable, and that stuff gets caught in your vent and it creates a massive fire hazard. So what you wanna do is disconnect that from the wall. You wanna pour out the stuff, get all the stuff out. I've seen people get air blowers and blow it through out, the vent will go to the exterior of your house. So you can buy an old toilet brush or something like that to get in there and clean it out. I know my neighborhood has a service where people get together and kind of pay for someone to come and hit a bunch of the houses. So your neighborhood may have something like that. If you live in North Knoxville like I do, reach out, happy to forward those people your way. But you want to clean out your dryer vent at least once a year. That keeps your dryer running efficiently. It also prevents a major fire hazard from building up inside of your laundry, which who doesn't like preventing fire hazards? I know I do, which is why we're gonna do that this year. As I was researching for this list, I was like, oh man, I probably should have been doing that a long time ago. So clean out your dryer vent. Next, flip your mattress. If you have a two-sided mattress, you can flip it all the way over. If you don't, at least rotate it. This is something you want to do maybe every 6 months or so. This is to prevent, I'm a side sleeper. I also am not the smallest dude on the planet. So where I lay for a long time just will create an indention. And the more we do that, because I don't know about you, but my wife and I sleep on the same side of the bed every single night. And I don't know what kind of monster would do it any other way. I've heard of people who we'll switch sides and stuff like that. And I think that's bonkers. I think that's absolutely wild. But if you're like most normal people, you're gonna sleep on the same side, you're gonna sleep in the same way, and it creates indentions, and it just erodes the quality of your mattress over time. So the fall is a great time. It's as good a time as any to go ahead and flip that bad boy over or turn it around. Either way, the point is that you're laying in a different part of the mattress so that you're applying pressure to a different part, and it keeps it from breaking down more quickly. So it'll also, extends the life of your mattress, which are not cheap. So why wouldn't you want to extend the life of something that you probably paid a lot of money for? Next, check your chimney. If you have a chimney, if you use a fireplace, this is a great time to have a qualified chimney inspector. There are plenty in Knoxville. Come out and inspect it. If you have some soot that is built up, that usually I think it's like 1/8 of an inch. I saw one recommendation. Anything more than that, you wanna make sure you get it professionally cleaned. Or if there's a glaze to it, you wanna make sure it gets professionally cleaned. Both of those are yellow flags, I think, for chimney inspectors. But when we were renovating our house, we had a qualified chimney inspector come out and look at it, look at one of the chimneys in our house, give it a look. They do a great job. They know what they're talking about. So make sure that if you plan on building a fire, you have a wood burning stove, anything where you're using fire inside of the house, get a chimney inspector to come out and check it. Or if you have a chimney that is inactive, you haven't used it, but it's still extended above your roof line, you want to make sure that they can come out, inspect the flashing. That's like the metal part that sits between the chimney and the roof. It creates like this waterproof barrier, because as that breaks down over time, as stuff hits it, water can leak in, and that can cause problems. Obviously, no one wants water inside your house. Water inside your house is not good. So you want to make sure that your chimney gets inspected on an annual basis. Just come out. Normally the inspections are very cheap. They may even do it for free. If they do it for free, you should always be wary, because they're going to try and sell you a problem. So, have them come out, look at it, and just make sure that it's safe for use. Finally, if you live in a neighborhood like I do with big trees, trim back any limbs that are extending over your house or any limbs that are dead on those trees. You want to trim your trees. Why? Well, because in the fall and the winter, while we don't get a ton of storms, the storms that do come through can be pretty tough. And as ice comes in, as things freeze, those branches are going to fall down, and anything you can do to prevent that kind of damage, we want to do it, because why wouldn't you? If you know that limb's going to fall down, get out ahead of it, get it cut down by a qualified tree professional. There's bonded, insured people who know what they're doing. I'm not going to climb a tree. That's not what I do. But there are people out there who are very good at it, can get it out of your way and make sure that the tree, is not going to cause problems for your house later. And I love trees. I said it earlier in the video. I love trees. They're not always the best for a house, like roofs. Before we moved in, a big tree fell on a part of our house, and that part is still damaged. I still need to go in and repair the exterior damage. It's not a small thing when a tree falls down, and in fact, it can be dangerous. So there was a house in our neighborhood that during a big storm that came through, the tree fell almost entirely on the roof and caused this huge cave-in. Water rushed into the house. It was devastating. The owners had to move out. And I think the building is being condemned at this point. So trim your trees, make sure it's safe. So that's the list that I have. That's not the entirety of the things that you should be doing to keep your house safe, but this is a short list of things that you can do every fall to make sure that your house is running in tip-top shape. Did I miss anything? Are there things that you recommend as homeowners? Is there anything specific to Knoxville and East Tennessee that you would say? If so, drop it in the comments below. I would love to hear it. And is there anything you want to learn more about? Let me know. If you like this, hit the subscribe button. Would love to send stuff to you as soon as new videos come out, so you can always be up to date on the ins and outs of living in Knoxville, Tennessee. Thanks again. See you next time.